Aw, animals.
Elephants don't need to sleep as much as other mammals. Elephants not only have great memories, but they also don't seem to need to sleep as much as other mammals. Elephants normally only sleep for 2 hours between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. They can stay awake for up to 46 hours while walking as far as 30 kilometers. Researchers say elephants have been observed only going into rapid eye movement sleep every 3 or 4 days. REM sleep is believed to be critical for memory consolidation. Researchers have not yet figured out how elephants manage to survive on such limited sleep. They're planning to do follow-up research on more elephants.
Say no to safe spaces on YouTube. Support TomoNews at patreon.com/TomoNews.
Interested in more studies on animals? Keep watching.
Scientists discover bumblebees can learn and share tool use capabilities. Researchers at Queen Mary University of London studying bumblebees have made a scientific breakthrough, observing that the bees were able to learn and share information regarding the use of tools. In the series of experiments, the scientists placed 3 sugar-filled artificial flowers underneath a glass table, each tied to a string. Out of 110 bees put through the test, 2 managed to use the string as a rope to pull the flower out to get to the sugar. In another test, untrained bees were placed behind a transparent wall as they watched another bee retrieve the sugar. When put through the same conditions, 60% of the untrained bees were able to successfully navigate the experiment. Even after the trained bees had died, the learned skills remained in the colony. This research demonstrates that bee colonies may house more advanced cultures than previously understood, with the ability to pass on knowledge seen as a complex phenomena of social groups. Researchers in Norway teach horses to communicate with people. Researchers in Norway have made a breakthrough in the study of animal cognition, using symbols to help horses communicate their level of comfort to humans. In the study, 23 horses were exposed to a range of hot, cold, and warm temperatures and given 3 symbol boards to select from based on what they experienced. If a horse nudged the board with the horizontal line, it communicated to the researchers the horse felt cold and was asking for its blanket. If a horse nudged the board with a vertical line, it communicated that it felt hot and wanted the blanket removed. If a horse nudged a board with no symbol on it, it was communicating it felt comfortable. Horses were given a carrot for making the correct choices. It was clear whether the horses were choosing the symbols that corresponded with their comfort, as they were either covered in thick blankets designed to make them uncomfortably hot, or taken outside in freezing cold temperatures which would call for them to demand a blanket. The horses learned to provide their preferences after only 14 days of 10 to 15 minutes of training each day. This new research groups horses in with apes, dolphins, and pigeons as animals proven to be able to communicate with humans through symbols.
New study suggests human limbs may have gotten their start from fish gills. In 1878, anatomist Carl Geigenbauer proposed a link between human limbs and fish gills that was widely dismissed. 138 years later, it turns out the guy was onto something. Scientists from the University of Cambridge have found a possible evolutionary link between our limbs and the gill arches of sharks, skates, and rays. These cartilaginous fish have gill support structures called branchial rays, which fan out in the same way fingers do. In humans, a gene dubbed sonic hedgehog determines which fingers go where and keeps them growing to full size. The gene was named after the video game character by a researcher whose daughter was a fan of Sonic the Blue Hedgehog. The gene is also responsible for the formation of branchial rays in skate embryos, using the same underlying mechanism for growth. When inhibited early in development, the gene causes the branchial rays to grow on the wrong side. When inhibited later on, branchial rays grow on the correct side, but are fewer in number. Does this mean we evolved from fish then? Though the similarities are telling, there's still no fossil evidence to fully back up the theory. Maybe in another 100 years or so, Geigenbauer will finally get his due. Say no to safe spaces on YouTube. Support TomoNews at patreon.com/TomoNews.
Elephant gene could help in the fight against cancer.
In a study published this week in the Journal of the American Medical Association, scientists revealed they have discovered a gene in elephants that could help the fight against cancer. Elephants, similar to humans, have lifespans of around 70 years or more, but they have 100 times more cells than humans, and their cells rarely mutate into cancer. Only 4.8% of known elephant deaths are related to cancer, while for humans, cancer-related deaths are between 11 and 25%. Scientists have found that African elephants have 20 copies of a gene called TP53, which creates a protein that suppresses tumors. Humans, on the other hand, inherit only one TP53, one allele from each of their parents. If one of them is defective, cancer is certain to develop sooner or later. When there is DNA damage, the gene churns out copies of its P53 protein, and it either stops the cells from dividing so the DNA can be repaired, or destroys the affected cell so it won't pass on potentially harmful mutations. Tumor biology specialist Dr. Trevor Graham told the LA Times that reinforcing the protection offered by TP53 in humans would be enough to prevent human cells from becoming cancerous.